there she sits in primal form right here. This thing is just completely destroyed. But last video you saw that we figured out why metal shavings were, I guess metal chunks, not even shavings, were in the oil. And it was all because of this gear right here. So this gear has bearings. I'll kind of show you guys the bearings in there. This is actually a new gear that we put in here. You can see the bearings, the roller bearings are right here on either side of that gear. And the old gear, it's right here. So the bearings were completely out of there. So that gap in there is where the bearings are supposed to be. Those bearings were completely gone and in the bottom of the case, which is insane. But the guy who must have rebuilt this at one point put this gear in wrong. So there's a rod right here that goes into this case. I'll kind of show you guys what this looks like here. So here's the rod. You can see one end is like that. That end was in the wrong side. So that end was in this side of the case. And that end is to prevent the rod from turning. So that fits into the groove right in there. And he had that in backwards. So this rod was spinning and it must have been moving when it shouldn't have been moving. And it ripped up those bearings in there. So we got this part in the mail. I think this part was pretty expensive, but not too bad. I think it was like maybe 35 if I remember correctly. So we were able to fix that. That was the only thing wrong in the transmission. So everything else looked good. All the bearings were perfect. I lubed everything up. Everything is good to go. We can now put these cases back together. All right, we're using ultra black Permatex gasket maker. This stuff works really well. I haven't had any leaks on any machines with this stuff. So I'll leave a link in the description for that and in the comments section if you guys want to pick some of this stuff up. I think it sells on Amazon for pretty cheap. So it's a good thing to have on hand when you're rebuilding engines. But just a thin coat on both sides of the engine cases will do the job. These engine cases don't look too bad, but there's a couple imperfections that you need to fill in. So again, you don't have to go crazy with this stuff. When you smush the cases, some of it gets inside, so you don't want a ton getting inside the engine here. But we'll coat this whole thing and then we'll get these cases together. Now typically you'd have the crank and the counterbalance in this side already, but I could not get the crank off because the gear on the other side was stuck. So I fought with that for about like an hour yesterday and I just gave up. I tried heat, I tried everything. The other gear wouldn't pop off there. So we're leaving the crank in on this side, and I already dry fitted it up and it works perfect. So we got all the gasket maker on here. You can see it's all good to go, both sides. So let's see if this thing fits in here. One more check on the transmission. Everything's down all the way. Everything spins smoothly. Looking good. Bearings are all good. That rod is nice and locked in place now. Let's see if we can get her to go. Alright, looks like we got her. Still spins smoothly. Crank spin. Oh yeah, baby. Alright, let's get some bolts in there. Alright, so our shift shaft, remember we had to cut off because somebody welded on the end, so I'm waiting for that to come in the mail. But in the meantime, we're going to shift through the gears and just see if it shifts correctly into all the gears before we start rebuilding the top end. So let's just see here. We're in neutral right now, and that spins. On the other side where the sprocket goes, it's not spinning, so we know that's working. We'll go up into first. And over here, you can see the sprocket is spinning. So that's working. Let's go into second gear here. Go back into neutral. There's neutral again. Second gear, that's working, that's grabbing. Third gear, that's working, that's grabbing. Fourth gear, that's working and grabbing. Fifth gear, it's working and grabbing. Sixth gear, it's working and grabbing. So it looks like all the gears are working. We can't go into that gear. We'll go back into neutral. Then we're going to try reverse. Let's see if that works. We have to get a couple things in before we can test this out. Got this ball, a spring, and this bolt that goes in there. And this ball rides on that shift drum in there. So you just drop the little ball in there, you can just kind of see it in there. It won't fall into the case, so don't worry about that. And then you've got a spring that goes on top of the ball, and this thing goes on top of the spring. And then you just screw in this bolt all the way down. And then we should be able to shift into reverse here. So right now I think we are in reverse. So that's not reverse, so when you spin this, it's not going to do anything. And then when you go this way, clicks into place like that. And now you can hear it click in. That's going to spin the opposite direction over here. And that is doing that. So reverse is working. Alright, since we don't have the shifter lever yet, we can't really do the other side. So let's work on this side. I got the cam chain in already, and then the tensioner, using some blue Loctite on these bolts. You don't want those coming out. And then we're going to put the flywheel on. And also note that there is a bearing right here with a washer behind that. So let's see, we've got the Woodruff key right here. Got that on there. Alright, let's try to get this flywheel on. Alright, we ended up getting a new stator for it. This one was the old one. You can see the wires were cut right there on it. And where else? Yeah, it's just really beat up, you can see. metal chunks everywhere. So we got a brand new one. That metal chunk just went in here. We cleaned this out, got a brand new one, so let's install that. It's right here. All right, I was able to get the shift shaft in down here. We just got that part in. The truck just dropped that off, so we can do the clutch now. We got a new clutch pressure plate right here. You can see, and new bolts. The old one had the bolt stuck in there, and then this was just cracked. And you can see it was cracked on that side too, so that was junk. So let's get the new one on there. All right, that's on there. All right, we got the gasket on, all greased up. Let's get the cover on next. I don't think there's any trick to this, so it should be pretty easy. Alright, bottom end is officially done. Everything's good to go. I cleaned it up a little bit, so it's looking pretty good. Let's get the piston on next, and then the cylinder, and then we gotta work on the head. I'm probably gonna change out the valve seals since we've got the head off, so I hate doing the valve seals. Anything with valves I don't like too much, just tedious. Kind of check out the piston here. You can see all the rings are really nice on it. I'm gonna quick check the ring gap here to make sure the rings aren't gapped too big. But yeah, piston looks really good. This is a niche piston. This one's probably pretty new. All right, ring gap is a little bigger than I'd like, but it's not horrible. If it smokes, we'll probably change the rings, but we'll test them out for now because it looks like a new piston. So we'll see. I'm just going to lightly hone the cylinder, just a couple passes. There's 0 scratches on this thing, so we don't need much, just to take off the surface. That's all you need. And this hone is, let's see what size this thing is for you guys. Flex hone. Let's see, does it say the size? Oh, right here. 89 millimeters, 3.5 inches. So that works pretty well for a Warrior. it's looking pretty good. Let's try to get the cylinder on. We've got the rings oriented, so there's a ring gap right here, ring gap right here for the second ring, down below. And then for the oil ring, the spaces are about this far apart from each other. Pretty good. Alright, we've got the head right here. To get these valves out, we've got to take the cam out. Cam is right here. So the cam comes out. The only way to get the cam out, I guess, is to take these out. Then you can pull the cam out. But in order to get the cam out first, you have to loosen the valves up. Thing off. You can see the little nut comes off. I guess the whole thing's coming out. Alright, there's one. There's one. Other side. Alright, and alright, now that cam should pull out. If it doesn't, then we've got some problems. And that won't be good. Let's see. Yep. Alright, let's see if the cam can come out of here. There we go. There's the cam. Wow, that looks really nice. There's like zero wear on that thing. It is looking really, really nice. Oh, look at down there. At one time, this thing was rubbing pretty good. Get to see down in there. So I think somebody got a new cam for it, because this one wasn't rubbing or anything. But yeah, that's how you do that. Now we can get the valve compression tool and get the valves off. This is kind of how we're going to do it. It can fit right in there. Should hear a pop. Ooh, that one doesn't want to break. Ooh. Uh-oh. There we go. One pin, two pins. Alright. Let's see what this valve looks like here. That one almost didn't come free. Whew. Alright, we got our springs. They look like new springs too. Valve, we can push that through. Hopefully they aren't bent or anything. Looks like a brand new valve to me. Look at that thing. It might be. Not bent. Perfectly straight. And that was the intake valve. Now we can do the exhaust valve, same thing. Won't make you guys sit through that. Alright, here's the exhaust valve. Looks pretty good. Not bent. Let's get those valve seals out of there, and then we can lap in these valves. Valve seals kind of look new. Looks like they were probably just replaced, but doesn't hurt. We've got brand new ones, so may as well put them in. All right, we'll lap these guys in. There's like really zero carbon buildup on this, but since we're in here, we may as well do it. All right. All right, we'll continue to lap these in, and we'll come back when they're done. All right, head is all done. Valves are lapped. Everything is good to go. Let's try to get the head on next. See if we can do her. All right, we torqued the head nuts down to 29 foot-pounds. All right, so the intake are supposed to be between 0.06 and 0.1 millimeters, and the exhaust should be 0.6 to 0.2 millimeters. So I set them according to that, and everything's good. Let's see if the engine spins. I've got the starter in there too, so it might be a little bit weird sounding, but perfect. Everything's spinning. Everything's moving correctly. Awesome. All right, before we get the engine in the frame, the back shock right here is junk. So I took out the two bolts, one right there and then one down here, holding it on. And we ordered one up from eBay that supposedly works, so we'll see. It's not super cheap. It's obviously used. It doesn't look the greatest, but I think it's yellow. Yep. So it kind of matches. It's like the perfect match for this thing. Like painted a crappy yellow. So hopefully that works. We're gonna install that and hope for the best. All right, here's the old shock. You can see the line was cut right there. It must have gotten bad and then rubbed against the tire or something, because that's where that canister goes right there. But new one's on, and it's not pogo sticky, so that's good. So that works a lot better. And the quad is sitting a lot higher in the back, so that looks a lot better. All right, let's get the engine in. See if we can get that fitted up. Alright, that's not a super light engine to work with. But yeah, it's in the frame. Gotta get it bolted up and then everything back on this thing. Hopefully we have spark too, because we didn't have spark last time. So, alright, so we got a couple things hooked up, enough to check for spark here. So This is a big moment of truth. Let's see if that aftermarket stator has spark at all. There we go. It's on. Oh yeah, we've got spark, so that's good. Let's check out the carburetor next. I think we're going to run the aftermarket one for now, just because it's all set up and ready to go. We're going to take a look and see what the jets are in there, and then compare it to the stock one, just to make sure we don't run it lean on the first start. Alright, let's see what's going on. How's it on there? Bowl looks pretty clean. Yeah, this is definitely just been added. It's a brand new carburetor. It is missing a main jet. That's interesting. Look at that. Missing the main jet in there. That is really weird. That is extremely odd. Where the heck did the main jet go? Well, good thing we're checking this. See, it's just completely missing the main jet. Well, let's go see if the stock one fits in here. We might have to use the stock carburetor. Alright, the main jet is out of the stock carburetor too. So that's not good. I don't know what it would have been for main. Oh, here we go. Here's one. I'm not seeing a size on it. That's what that looks like. That must be the one for this carburetor. I'm guessing. Alright, we're just going to go with that main jet for right now. That's the one that came with it, so I'm assuming that's the correct one. We'll change it out if it causes problems, but that's back installed. Kind of the theme of this thing is just parts missing and put in incorrectly. Alright, let's get some oil going in this thing. Takes 2.5 quarts. Alright, we got oil in it, we've got gas going to it. Let's see if she fires up here. Moment of truth here. This will kind of determine what we do with it. So hopefully she fires up. We will see. Key on. Choke it. Oiling. Well, she runs. smoking too much. Cool. That's awesome. We'll get everything else back in the quad. All right, this thing is all back together. Time to clean up the plastics and the seat. I'm going to take this to the gas station and pressure wash it with soap and water and high pressure water. But before that, I don't think it would take off the stuff in the plastics. So let's try to get that off. It might take a green pad. I'm not sure. We'll have to kind of play around with it a little bit. We'll try WD-40 first. See what that does. You can see it leaves those spots on here. Cleans up that part of the plastic. Let's just see what this does. I don't want to scratch them. Yeah, that'll pick it right off. I don't know what all this stuff is on it. Actually, it's having a hard time taking that off. Still some spots left on it, but obviously it's better than that. Alright, we're going to work on the next side, and we'll come back once it's done. The seat needs to be done as well. Looks like birds pooped on it. Alright, just got done doing the plastics. This is kind of how it turned out. Did the seat as well, so it looks a little bit better. Not too shabby. It'll look a lot better once we pressure wash it, but it's kind of what that's looking like. Not too bad for, what was it, $500 or something we paid for this. So it's coming along. We'll pressure wash it and then we'll take it for the first ride. Alright, so I got the chain in, and we replaced that. Just got that off of Amazon. Worked out pretty good. It's a non-O-ring chain, so pretty easy to install. And then we got the shifter on here, shifter mechanism. Basically, I was just missing this piece right here because that was welded to the rod, the previous rod. We got a new rod, so we had to get a new shift mechanism as well. So that cost 20 bucks, or I think it was $30 actually. So not too bad. So the chain I think was like 40 and the other part was like 30. So another 70 bucks into this thing. We are going to go take this thing for a ride, test drive it, and also take it to the car wash and pressure wash it. See if it cleans up at all. You can see the frame is pretty dirty in areas and stuff. And the engine's pretty gross looking too. So hopefully that all cleans up. Get the rims nice and polished up. You can see the swing arm's pretty bad too. Alright, we made it to the car wash here. Let's go pressure wash that. Alright, just did the wheeler. Looks pretty good. Did the truck as well. Alright, made her out here. It's a tad windy, but looking pretty good. So we're gonna go take this thing for a ride, test her out. We'll test out reverse, forward, make sure all the gears work, because this whole engine was gone through, so we'll see what happens. And then we'll take the GoPro ride. Let that warm up for a little bit. Sounds pretty good though. Not bad. for an old quad. Lights are working. Shall we see if reverse works here? Oh yeah. That's awesome. First gear we're in right now. Second gear. So far so good. Just taking her easy, getting that piston broken in here. Open her up a little bit. Well guys, that wraps up today's video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. This was a lot of work putting this quad together. We had to redo the bottom end, but it runs really good. No issues really. It did sputter a little bit one time, but I think that's the carburetor. I'm guessing the gas tank isn't venting properly. That's my guess, but otherwise it runs good, goes through all the gears, it's fast. Clutch doesn't slip. Both brakes work, so it's pretty solid. I mean, it's a good beater quad. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Stay tuned for the next one. Until next time, we out.